Hey, coffee lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love. Got Nick with me. We're gonna take a look at some of the higher end super automatic bean to cup machines. These do milk-based espresso beverages, coffee. We're gonna talk about some over ice and other things that these can do. So Nick, what are we're taking a step up. So what is it we're gonna look at now?
Yeah, so today, in this segment, I should say, we've got the Gaggia Cadorna Prestige limited edition Moonlight Gray with an over ice feature. So if you watched our previous segment, you saw the Magenta Prestige. Well, this is its Cadorna counterpart, so we'll be getting into that. We have Jura's new J8 Twin espresso machine. This is a dual grinder bean to cup espresso machine from Jura.
Two grinders.
Two grinders, that's right.
Half
Two grinders,
calf,
half calf,
different coffees.
blends, different coffees, infinite possibilities. The Gaggia Accademia.
One of my favorite, been a
Probably
daily driver of mine for a couple of years now.
Best value premium super automatic machine out there, made in Italy, full metal housing, incredible. And then last but not least, obviously, the Jura Z10. This is a very, very capable bean to cup super automatic espresso machine from Jura. We are featuring the white aluminum model, which has an aluminum front panel with the ability to make a cold extraction using Jura's cold extraction process.
All right, so these are all one-touch machines. Do a milk drink with the touch of a button. Got a couple special features. So the idea here is to help you figure out which one might be best for you.
That's right. So you would refer to these as bean to cup, meaning beans ground fresh to your cup. One touch means it's going to make a whole milk drink for you at the push of a button. So let's dive right into the Cadorna. So if you didn't join us in our last segment, I will go over some of the basic functions and kind of how this machine works. We'll cover the menu and talk a little bit about what it's doing, because a lot of what I'm describing here on the Cadorna is going to apply to our Accademia as well. So Brian, if you want to take us to the screen actually. So you can see very robust menu on this machine. Starts us right off with those milk drinks too, but we've got 4 pages of drinks. We have the espresso, coffee, cappuccino, latte macchiato on the front. Then we've got the espresso lungo, an Americano, one of Mark and my favorite drinks, cafe au lait, hot water, cafe cortado, flat white, and then XL versions of our latte macchiato and cappuccino, as well as a ristretto, froth milk, and then the all-new over ice. So really a whole cafe's worth of beverage options there. And when you go in for programming, and so like I said, this is going to be similar to the Accademia, but we'll get into what makes it even more special in a bit.
I really like this. This is one of my favorite things about these Gaggia machines.
Just very easy to see exactly what you're getting. Make changes if you need it. You can change the volume of your drink. So that's going to be, it just says coffee right here. That's talking about how much water is passing through those beans that you're grinding. Temperature, you can do low and medium, which are sort of just like ready to drink in cup. High, that's going to be a little hotter, especially good for like a travel cup, something you're taking with you. You can do it ×2 on any of the coffee beverages that are not the Americano. So that's going to tell the machine to basically grind and brew twice for you. Perfect if you have guests or if you want to double up in volume. You can tell the machine if you want to do a pre-ground scoop. Great for decaf, Mark.
Yep.
And
those are up there. Yep.
And then just change the strength. So you have 5 settings there. On the lowest, that's going to be 6.5 grams of freshly ground coffee. At the maximum, that's going to be 11.5 grams. And then to brew, we would just push this button right here.
And then you make any changes, you can save those. So you have 4 user profiles in here, which you can use for 4 different people, or arrange drinks under different profiles. I know you like the green profile if you're going to do pre-ground decaf drinks for later in the evening or something.
Yeah, so if you press home, that's always going to take you back to the default menu of drinks, so you can always see how Gaggia programmed them. Great place to start if you're not sure what you like. My favorites, though, to your point, Mark, that's where you're going to be able to go in and start saving custom versions of drinks. So you can basically use those to store your favorites, a family member's favorites, or just if there's a version like you said, Mark, this is going to be my decaf menu. You could tell all those drinks to always use that pre-ground scoop. Exactly.
So why don't we go real quick, just top to bottom, and where stuff is located on this machine.
Top of the Cadorna here. It's our bean hopper. We have an aroma seal, nice gasket on this lid. About 10 ounces here in the bean hopper. There's a post located in the back. This is a 10-step grinder as well. Ceramic burrs. And this is where your whole bean coffee is going to be located. We, of course, have the bypass dosing chute up there. and then in the front of the machine.
So you can adjust your grind size on this to
Yes.
kind of match the coffee that you're using or the type of drinks you're doing maybe most often, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. So in the front on the left here, that's where we're going to have our water reservoir. Pulls right out, holds around 60 ounces of water, and it can be fitted. I'll hold that up for a second. Down here on the water inlet with a Mavia water filter that we carry as well. Question from Brian Kushner: how do you adjust the grind? So you're going to actually get a scoop that comes with these machines, and I'll see if maybe someone off camera might be able to run and grab me one of those, but it's a scoop on one half, and then it's a hexagonal key on the other half, and it fits right on top of this post here that I'm pointing to. And then by pushing and then twisting, kind of like a medicine bottle, there's a little arrow right at the base of this post, and it points to your currently selected grind setting. So just push and twist, and that's going to change the grind for you. Now in the front, just to finish up here, on the right, we have our spent coffee container. We don't have anything in there because we haven't brewed yet. Drip tray pulls out of the front. That runs the full depth of the machine. Perfect, all right. We got our scoop. And then that fits, Brian, right over.
So that's the grind adjustment.
That's the grind adjustment. And it shows right on the top of the scoop here, turn one direction for coarse, the other direction for fine. They have a little plus and minus icon on there. And then one level scoop of this. Oh, wait, you can't see it. There we go. One level scoop of this. That's going to be how much coffee you want to load into our bypass chute right here.
Right.
Yeah, so like I was saying, in the front, drip tray that runs the full depth. And then I'll show you the brew group because it'll be located slightly differently on the Accademia, but it's the same group. It's right here, this device. This is called a brew group. This is where your coffee actually brews. So
I call that the little barista that lives inside the machine. It does all your damping.
It does
and
actually,
brewing.
yes.
Yes.
There's a little catch tray here. The brew group, you can take that out. Oh, we had a puck, and actually, it's a little surprise for me there. Get that out of the way. But if you want to get onto the side here, Brian, while I just get rid of this for a moment, there's just some basic instructions. So Gaggia's helping you out, and you can see every week you want to remove this brew unit and actually rinse it in the sink, let it air dry overnight, put it back in the machine, and then every 500 drinks that you brew, you want to use a group cleaning tablet, and you want to re-lubricate the tracks inside. So with the machine, you're going to get a tube of brew group lubricant, and then that's going to help you to just keep all the sliding mechanisms in this machine moving without friction.
So maintenance is pretty easy here with this, and it's going to guide you through it when it's time to do a deeper cleaning. And we said that's on average somewhere around 500 brew cycles.
That's right, and in the previous segment, we had a customer who messaged in saying, he had a Cadorna milk, was making 6 drinks every single day, no hitches, no problems. Proper maintenance can really keep these machines working very well for a long time.
And I do like the color of this one, but
Yes.
my favorite thing is what they've done with the top of the drip tray
Yeah,
here.
that I think is a personal
that caught my
favorite
eye.
of yours.
Yeah.
And then, Mark, let's just show off kind of the marquee feature here, which is going to be the over ice. And so basically, Gaggia has developed a over ice brew cycle, and what that's going to do is brew at a lower temperature and a slightly lower extraction flow. So we'll go to that here and go to over ice. And I think this is what's really cool about this Cadorna is that the over ice is very flexible. You can do as low as 2 ounces for something like a ice shot. We made a drink in our previous segment that we showed there. You can also go all the way up to 7 ounces if you wanted a full cup of iced coffee. I'm going to do around 5. And I'm going to not boost it because I just want to drink this right away. But let's say I want to make this over ice every time. This is my over ice coffee. Well, you can save that to a profile. I'll save it to our blue profile. And so really the Cadorna is great because you can configure and save your own custom over ice drinks to the different profiles to make them really easy to brew. So we're just going to press start. And what I just did there, pressing start, that's how you start brewing on any of the drinks. And then once we get flowing, Brian will show you what it looks like actually dispensing. And so then for Jadrian A, I thought I read at one point to only change the grind while grinding. So generally speaking, that is true. One thing to keep in mind though is that on super automatic espresso machines, for the most part, those bean hopper lids are going to be fitted so that they have a sensor magnet in place that's going to keep you from lifting the lid of the hopper off to keep your fingers safe while it's grinding. Now, what I would recommend then is if you find that your coffee is too strong and you've made adjustments to the temperature, you've made adjustments to the dose, so the strength, and it's still too strong, well, you can coarsen up. And coarsening up the coffee, you can do that at any time because you're actually relieving the distance between the burrs. Now, if you're going finer, that's when you want it to be running or you want it to be empty. So I would say if you're trying to adjust finer, I would run through the coffee that's left over in the hopper so that you've got nothing between the burrs, and then you can make that adjustment. Now, generally speaking, we recommend to simply adjust finer at the beginning when you first have unboxed the machine.
Yeah, before you even get coffee in there, and then you can back off real easy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So just a few other questions. Brian, when it pulls espresso, what type of pressure is obtained by the super automatics? So generally speaking, they are equipped with a 15-bar pump. And I'm not sure if there's any OPV or restriction inside that would prevent that. J-Rod B. Me, which super auto machine is best for iced lattes, milk-based drinks, easy to clean, different coffee options? You may want to actually stay tuned just for the Jura Z10. Because I would say if you want the most expansive menu with ice drinks, cold extraction, that would be it. But these new Gaggias, if you're looking to brew on, a little bit of a budget there, are a really competitive option there too.
Yeah, it gives you a much different flavor in the over ice, and it's, like you said, it's a cooler extraction.
That's right.
Now, I also just want to mention this, we said this is a one-touch machine, so you can make milk drinks one touch.
Correct.
So we do have the milk carafe over here.
Yep.
And we'll take a look at how that works.
In the interest of time too, I don't know if we'll use this. We just have a lot to cover, but the carafe connects directly to the front of the machine here. It goes in that socket where we had our water dispensing spout. And then when you select a milk beverage, you'll see you have the ability to then customize the amount of milk that you want. Based on the type of drink that you're picking, flat, white, cappuccino, etc., you may have differences in order in terms of whether the espresso is brewed first or the milk is froth. You might have a ×2 grind for the coffee, as is the case with our flat white here. So really a lot of versatility. The carafe does have a quick clean function as well that will simply clean out this spout here after you're done.
So you can make a drink, do that quick clean, put it right back in the fridge, and
quick clean,
pull it out for later.
Lock that lid, and then put it right back in the fridge. I will say, just compared to the magenta that we looked at, the Cadorna does have a nice handle that makes it very easy to insert and remove this carafe. And other than that, Cadorna Prestige, really, really great machine, very flexible, lots of drink options. Obviously now too, that over ice just kind of kicks it up to a whole new tier.
Yeah. So we'll also take a look, we're going to look at a couple Jura machines. Now these Gaggias both have the detachable carafe. The Juras take a different approach to doing the milk drinks.
They do, yeah. They use a pickup tube that we can demo. Joseph, do I really have to air dry my brew group after it's cleaned? I like to take a shortcut and just use a towel to hand dry it. I think the whole idea is just to avoid getting any, paper that might rip off and stick to it, or fibers from cloths. So Gaggia's recommendation is just to let it air dry overnight.
I'll be honest, Nick. I've rinsed them and I've shook them off really good, and I'm trying not to have a lot of moisture in there. And you're probably
fine. They are inside the machine. They're going to get wet. Obviously, a little bit of water on them is not going to really do anything.
You don't want to get the lubricant off the tracks.
Correct. You want to leave the lubricant on the tracks. Yeah. That's important for just the functioning of the machine.
So, shall we move on to the Jura?
We are going to move on. This is our Jura J8 Twin. We'll wake it up and say hello. So, obviously, the most apparent kind of benefit to this machine, the coolest feature it has, is going to be that dual grinder setup. So, Brian, if you want to show on the top there.
Two up here.
We've got, it's not just dual hoppers, it's dual grinders. There are literally 2 grinders inside this machine, so it's not like one grinder being fed from the 2 different hoppers. So, what that means is each grinder actually can be set to a unique grind setting. So you'll see that we've got 2 different knobs up here, and then it's a little tricky to see from this angle, but maybe we can show you. There's essentially 2 hemispheres of grind is what I've decided to start calling them, terming them, right? So you have intense and mild. And so within those 2 hemispheres, intense and mild, you have different adjustment levels as well. And so I know we were just asked, shouldn't the grinder be running, right? Well, this machine is actually designed in such a way that after each brew cycle, tension in the grinder is relieved. We'll hear that. It sounds really cool. And then that frees things up for you to freely adjust the grinder. And you might say, well, what's the benefit of that? And when we go into our programming, which I'll show you right here, so on any Jura Super Auto that has a touch screen like this one, pressing and holding our drink is going to get us into programming. Well, if you brew a lot of different kinds of drinks, you actually can have the machine remind you that you want to change that grinder for that particular drink. So for an espresso, for example, you'd probably want it to be intense. And so it's worth noting, in the programming, you're just saying, I want it on mild or I want it on intense, but there are degrees of movement within those ranges. So just keep that in mind that you're not going to program the exact coordinates. You're just going to say which one you want.
So the machine's going to tell you. So it doesn't actually change the grind size for you. You still go up and do that, but it kind of reminds you.
Actually, I'll show that off right now. So our espresso, we know, is obviously set right now to intense, which makes sense. And we'll show off a few features because there's a couple of things. So first of all, real quick, there's a feature on this machine. It's called Coffee Eye. And that's not like your eyes are bugged out because you've drank too much espresso. That's literally a sensor underneath the spout. So if you try to brew and there's no cup there, Coffee Eye says, hey, wait a minute, you need a cup there. And that's really useful because the touch screen is very responsive, and so just tapping a drink is going to start brewing it, so you want that Coffee Eye to help you out there. So we'll put an espresso underneath, and then Brian, if you want to just get us back on the screen, if we can, what we're going to show is I have the grinder set to a different setting than the espresso is currently programmed to. So if I go to brew that, it's going to say, hey, wait a minute, you got to set the consistency of your grinder to intense. And once you do, the machine will immediately start grinding. So again, that feature is just to get your grind in the right range for you. I don't know if we just heard that. A little vroom.
A little spin, yeah.
So that's a sound, Mark, that you and I are both familiar with, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to sound like a Formula One.
Formula One race car. That's right. That's the audio profile of that tension relieving is designed to sound like a Formula One race car. For those of you who don't know, Mark and I went on a trip to see F1 a few years ago, which was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
And then there's our espresso. We can change some of the settings on demand. You can skip ahead or you can cancel. We're going to be just about good with that 3.5. And then it's as easy as that. Now, the machine, obviously, as I said, has 2 bean hoppers. So we'll get into what that looks like, because Jura's other dual hopper machine, the Gaggia 10, uses a very similar setup. If you are used to the older Juras, however, like the old Gaggia 6, for instance, the blending has changed. So the ratio that you can achieve on this machine is actually 50-50. So by going into our drinks, you'll see there's a little icon now for the hoppers. Click that, and then you can choose 100% from left, 50-50 from both, or 100% from the right.
So you could easily do a half calf. So you could get like caffeinated beans in one side, decaf on the other side.
Correct.
And do a half calf if you wanted to.
Right. And so the cool thing is too, so like let's say, for example, our right grinder is our decaf grinder. So then we can just say, okay, well, I'll save my settings, first of all, because we just changed it, so we're being prompted. By going into this menu, this is how you can change settings. There is an easy mode as well that just basically lets you change volume more easily. But, you know, I feel like I've reached the advanced level on Juras here. So we'll save that. But really, what you could do is just go into the product name, and then you could just say, you know, decaf. Oh, I missed the C, so it's almost there. Okay. Decaf. And then a space, and we'll just do ESP. And so then that's your decaf espresso. You know, pressing from the side really doesn't make it easy on these touch screens, but it's as simple as that, just in terms of being able to say, all right, I've got a menu of decaf drinks, I've got a menu of caffeinated drinks, and if you go back to our main screen here, Brian, you'll see you can actually swap out the position of everything, And let's say your decaf is on the left. You could put all decaf on the left. You could put all caffeinated on the right.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Super easy.
So we talked about a different milk system. We got a little something special on this milk system. In addition to, it's going to use a pickup tube, which we see right here, which you can put into a variety of different containers. We'll see a refrigerated countertop unit.
Yeah, I mean, we have a basic picture here just because I do want to show that, you can drop that tube in anything. It doesn't have to be a accessory that you purchased. It's just a container, and then we can use some of that extra milk for something else. But literally, you just put that milk in there, put that tube in there, and then we make a beverage. So
get this out of the way. Huh?
The J8 Twin also has what Jura refers to as their sweet foam system. And so that's an accessory. Whereabouts did we put that? I thought it was up here. Oh. There's our our syrup, but it's on there. That's right.
Oh, you're looking for the...
Yes, so this is the sweet foam system, Brian, if you want to get us to it. So the way that this works is it's got a little capsule that you fill with syrup, and then as the drink is being frothed, as the milk's being frothed, it's pulled up in here, and maybe, Mark, we can show on the iPhone when we do that.
Yeah.
You can see how that foam is blended with the syrup, because on a lot of drinks, what you'll do is you'll add, say, a syrup to the drink, but then what's going to happen is that's going to be in the coffee.
Right.
In this case, you're blending that that syrup directly with your foam, with your milk.
So really infused into the milk. So there's
Yeah.
no stirring to get it infused or anything like that. But that flavor's right within the milk.
Yeah. And so the piece that's normally on here, which Jura
is
has,
right there.
They've told me they call it the milk barrel. That is just a traditional spout that just pulls straight off, and then you just take the sweet foam system and you put it in its place. So I just want to comment on this too. We'll go to the next page of our menu. You'll notice there are some drinks that have the S on them, if you want to show that up. That's what Jura refers to as a pre-selection. So they have things like pre-ground coffee, iced coffee, sweet foam is one of them. That S just indicates that you're intending to use the sweet foam system. The machine actually doesn't know that the sweet foam system is on here. So when you press it, it's going to prompt you and say, make sure that your sweet foam system is on. So with that, let's make our sweet latte. We're going to hit next. And then the other thing is, too, this machine has 2 positions for its frother. It can produce milk foam. It can also produce hot milk, and it's just indicating put that in the milk foam position. Oh, I didn't press fast enough.
Yeah.
That's right. S is for sweet, not for speed, I'll say. So now it's reminding us again, make sure that our grinder is set to the correct position.
Once you do that, it just goes, huh?
And it just goes, that's right.
So I'm going to get a close shot here
So you can see
what happens
that
when this
milk
comes
blending
up.
with the sweet foam.
Now, one thing that happens in this drink is it's going to make the espresso first here.
That's right. And so there is a separate coffee spout for the milk beverages. So it's behind the milk spout, and then there's a milk spout here, and it's going to dispense. So that's right behind it, as you saw. So it's not coming out of the same spouts.
So it's going to heat up to steam that milk
That's right.
right now, which is what it's doing. And you can see how, if you get in there, you can see how the milk is being mixed in real time.
It
with,
is cool
with our
seeing
caramel
those 2
syrup.
different layers, right? You see it sort of interacting there. It's really neat. And so that's worth mentioning, too, that you really do want to use a syrup, like a thick sauce, like the Hollander that we demoed.
Yeah.
That's not going to really blend very well. Oh, we're perfect.
Wow.
We're right on the edge there.
You planned that, huh?
Yeah, I might have. But yeah, something like a thick sauce isn't going to work. Now, you could
I'm going to give that a
thin
go.
that out a little bit if you added, say, some hot water to it. One thing I want to mention is,
Yeah, I'm a little too full
a little too full. One thing I do want to mention is that the sweet foam system, you're not going to, it's not going to make it too sweet.
Yeah.
It's just enough of that flavor, but it's not too sweet. Whole Latte Love crew is still live. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks for joining us. I can't read the Cyrillic alphabet, but thank you for joining us. We have reviewed some of these Juras before, actually, yes. So for people who might have missed our previous segment, we want to make sure we're covering them. But that's the J8 Twin really in a nutshell. I want to go to the Accademia next, but then you just remove this, wash that out, and you're good to go. The sweet foam system is really good for about a one-time use. So that's actually the Jura J8 Twin. But Marc, the Gaggia Accademia, obviously one of your favorite machines. Like you said, it's your daily driver. Just tell us a little bit about what kind of has differentiated this machine from a lot of the other super autos that you've been using.
Well, I mean, Gaggia really took the Accademia to a new level. We were talking to Joseph there, who has a 2013, so this one's going to look a little bit different. It's just got one. I just love this touch screen here, so you can operate it using the knob here, or you can just swipe through your drink selection here. And I'm going to go to. So you've got a full range of drinks. Again, this is a carafe-based machine.
Give you a little milk in here, too.
Yeah, so we'll get some milk in there. A couple of the other features in here. This is a full metal jacket. Very, very rare on a super automatic machine to have the full metal jacket. I use one that's got a total full glass front panel. This one's got the stainless, is what we call this up here, right?
That's right.
You notice we're putting some milk in a carafe over here. But we also have the steam wand. So if you want to do the latte art, maybe on the weekend or something, you can go ahead and steam manually and get the froth just how you want it. And if you're one of those, I know there's some people who appreciate a much hotter milk drink than is what is typically served. You make a latte, you're really supposed to be able to chug it.
That's right.
Right after it's made. It should not burn you because that's where milk's going to be at its sweetest. But if you like it super hot, this is the way to go because none of the automatic frothing machines are really going to make a super hot scalded milk sort of latte.
So having that commercial steam on really just gives you the ability to get your milk as hot as you want it.
Yeah.
And I know in our previous segment we were asked about steam on for the Cadorna. Well, this is essentially it. But the Accademia really has so much more when it comes to brewing and even milk frothing too, compared to even a machine like the Cadorna.
Yeah, it really does. This is a top load machine, so there's a water reservoir up top here.
Yep, on the left.
And then over on the other side, we've got the bean hopper. Really nice seal on that to keep your beans fresh. You do have an adjustable grinder here as well, so you can tune that to suit the beans that you're using. I typically, when I get a machine like this, I just go right to fine. I'm almost always drinking Americanos from this machine.
One thing to mention too on the Accademia, you don't use the key actually. You can just press and twist with your fingers. It's got a little indicator that has the setting that's right here on top of your bean shield. Much nicer bypass doser as well on this machine. It comes with a different style of scoop. Much more area to load in because even though it does use the same brew unit as the Cadorna, it opens on a hinge, and you can get access to the brew.
And this thing is built so well. I mean, you can't. I'm just going to turn the machine. I just want to show you, even down to the hinges here that are used on the door. These are girthy devices over here. Your used coffee, and if we didn't already show it, and the internal drip tray pull right out from the front for easy emptying. Like that a lot. But one of my favorite things is, number one, I can easily fit my travel mug under here. This dual spout attachment pulls right off, or you can push it back. If you're going to use it, just make sure it's in the right spot.
That's right.
Also up here, you'll notice this dial right here. So this is, the higher end semi-automatic machines. We call this flow control. And this is what this does. Is it's going to speed up and slow down the extraction. So if you're doing you want a deep, rich, short espresso, slow it down a lot.
Yes.
If you're going to do a longer cup of coffee, speed it up.
Let's get into the programming menu.
So I'll start with an Americano here because that's one of my favorites, of course. Yeah. Where it is. So I'm just going to press and hold on that to get into it. Oh, I got to tap. Oh, sorry.
No, I've programmed you with my Jura brain back here. Yes.
So we have all those. So again, one of the things I really like about this machine, the Cadorna we looked at, before you make the drink, it's going to show you all your drink parameters. I'm just going to take the spout off here because it's causing a little bit of reflection.
Yeah, you're seeing the reflection.
So how much coffee we're going to do, the aroma, whether we're going to use pre-brewing, and you have 3 options in there.
Yeah, so actually 4, right?
4?
Because you
Oh, yeah,
can turn it
right
off completely,
Yeah.
and that's something that you don't have on the other Gaggias at all. So right off the bat, that's something that you can do to increase some of that extraction, right? And that would make this a little bit better, say, for a lighter roasted coffee that does need more of that pre-infusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm going to talk more about aroma in a minute, but if you see over here, so we've got coffee volume, and Americano is espresso with hot water added.
Right.
So you've got volume for your espresso and for your water. You've got your temperature, of course, and your aroma. But let's go back to the aroma, because this was this machine, I think, makes some of the best espresso I've ever had out of any of these machines. And I've been using these machines for coming up on 15 years now. So the one thing I really like is if you go over here, they have the
Coffee boost. Right?
Coffee boost, which is right there. So what this does is it's going to split up. It's going to do 2 brew cycles instead of 1. So it's going to grind 2 times. And it's going to split whatever volume you have programmed here between those 2 brew cycles. Right. First one's going to be about 2/3 of the program volume. The second one's going to be about 1/3.
Right.
So you get a different flavor. You get a little bit a sweeter flavor. You know, there's some variability depending on the coffee you're using.
So it's not an even split, actually. Right?
No.
You're not getting that same length of extraction as as we talked about. It's a little different than the coffee boost on like an over ice machine.
Yeah, and this is how I drink larger cups of coffee. And that's what, people who are really into coffee, that's what they prefer. Instead of doing, a drip or, throwing all the water through the coffee that you're going to use for a larger cup, is adding hot water. So I'm going to put that boost on for this. And you know what? I'm going to put just a little pre-brew on this. We'll do 2. And now I can just go ahead and make that drink.
Yeah, basically, I say push play sometimes.
Push play.
I feel like it reminds me of the play button on like a VCR or something like that.
So what I'm going to get here is I've got 1.7 ounces here, 3.7 ounces here. It's a little less water than I typically would maybe use for something like that, but we'll just go ahead and push play, and it's going to do the drink. Now, certainly have the spouts on there. I'm just leaving them out there, but as you can see, you got a lot of space here if you're going to do a travel mug.
And so, Mark, actually, you have it on a lighter intensity. So let's say you wanted your shot.
I'm going to turn it up.
You could turn it up, and we'll see right here in the screen, if you want to get us a little closer to that, Brian, you have sliders that indicate how far along you are for each part of your drink. And Mark, if you wanted, you could even...
I could increase it right now.
Increase it right there, exactly. So to your point, you said you want a little more water, you could do that.
We'll just make it 2.2 ounces and hit the check mark for me.
Super responsive screen too.
Yeah.
I would say this. I use the term phone-like to describe it, but this is glass. This is, if you're wondering, this is all glass on this panel. Not only is it really premium and just kind of gorgeous to look at, but super responsive when it comes to the interface. Then of course you do have the knurled knob too that you can turn, and that knob.
Yeah, you could adjust them there.
You could adjust from there too. Exactly.
So this is going to be that added water here.
That boost.
Oh, we're still at the boost. Sorry.
You're getting ahead of yourself. You're just ready to drink this.
I am.
All right. So how does the new Academia feel in contrast with the flagship DeLonghi? To be honest with you, I don't think I've felt any machines that, from a build quality standpoint, feel like the Academia. It's solid. It's heavy. All of the touch points are actually very, very premium, and we can actually open that up to let the water flow a little bit faster. The restriction obviously doesn't matter. Normally, you wouldn't have as much splashing, obviously, if Mark put the spouts on, but they always seem to go missing in the studio. I put them back on, and then I come back, and then they're gone again. But yeah, and
I just want to say we're getting a little automatic clean over here after making
over
the
on
milk
our
drink.
Jura, that's right.
Yeah. Keep the milk clean.
From a build quality standpoint, and I say this as somebody who's used a lot of super autos myself, I don't think that there's any machine on the market that feels as premium as the Academia does. And it's worth mentioning that this is a made in Italy machine as well.
Yeah. I mean, the full metal jacket, I like to say, on this one, which is very, very rare on the machine. So maybe we do a quick milk drink?
We should do a quick milk drink, and I do want to just clarify too, The black version is a painted steel, so both have that full metal. So the milk frothing is another area, though, not just in the commercial steam wand, which is obvious, but Gaggia's Accademia is the only Gaggia espresso machine where you have variable foam texture that you can program as well. So if we select drinks, we can kind of show this up, but like on our cappuccino, you'll see there's a section that tells you how much milk that you want. So we got 4.1 ounces, for instance, and also how much milk foam. So the cappuccino is set to the max, but just so I can demo it here for you, let's go to like a cafe latte, for instance. We have no foam at all. So that means that we're just going to get hot milk with no froth. So you can adjust that within 4 settings, just like that pre-infusion, basically none or maximum up to that third one. So that's all done by this crap. You don't have to have any milk frothing experience whatsoever.
You gonna make a latte?
I'll make a smaller drink though.
Okay.
Because I want to demo that you can, unlike on some of the other Gaggia machines where they have like the Cadorna and the Magenta, you can't elevate the cups with the tray if you have the carafe in place. On the Accademia, you can use the extended spouts and a shorter cup, and you can still fit all that stuff right in there. So let's say maybe we want a cappuccino. And it's going to be a smaller drink. And you don't actually have to go into the programming menu. You can just brew straight from the main menu. It's asking me to open the spout. It does click every time, which I really like too. You hear a little beep. And it's going to make us our cappuccino, and it's just showing us all our parameters again. You can modify while brewing if you want to. I don't think I need to.
No.
And this is going to be just about 5.5 ounces when we're done. Cadorna doesn't
That's going to come close to maxing that cup.
Yeah, so based on this model right here, we're looking at the Gaggia Accademia brand, and then second gen ECM Synchronica personal dream machine. I think that's a lot of people's dream machine. And then, so based on which Cadorna you're talking about, some have an auto frother and some don't.
Right.
So we heard initially, right, that little switch over immediately into foam. So the sound, you can kind of tell whether it's dispensing foam or it's dispensing just heated milk. The Jura's same way. You just got to get used to listening to those little audio cues. But there we go. Nice.
About just right. Now, one thing I'll mention is we're getting the milk first here.
Right.
If we were doing the cafe latte, it would be the espresso first.
Exactly.
And
So
you get a different mix.
It changes it up. And there are a couple of drinks in here that you've maybe never heard of, like the melange or the macchiatone, which, Gaggia, being a company with such, deep Italian roots, there is a little bit more of that Italian kind of menu represented on the default drinks that we have here. So the milk temperature from the new Accademia improved over the original Gaggia Accademia. I would say, generally speaking, it's going to be comparable. I've said, before, but I feel like the temperature of the milk beverages has always been good. If you really want a very, very hot milk drink, I'm just going to say this. You want to have ones that make the milk first because the thermal block will be a little hotter, so your coffee gets a little bit of that extra heat as well. You can just close this spout.
Now, this is a cool steam hygiene. So when you close that spout, what's going to happen here?
It's going to automatically rinse that out, and then you can just take the carafe right off the machine and just put it back in the fridge. So on the Cadorna Magenta, you wanted to have a little cup underneath the rinse. This does that all internally, drains right into the drip tray, and you can just pop that right out. Exactly.
That goes back in the fridge. Yeah, it's really cool the way it does that. So it runs steam down through and into the drip tray. So this goes back into the fridge perfectly clean.
Exactly.
Ready to go for next time.
And there are deep clean cycles on this, just like there are on the other ones. So one last thing. Profiles that can be programmed on this machine, just like the others. But what's really cool, actually, is the home button can be programmed with your preferred profile. So if you've made enough custom drinks, you can call that right up by pressing home. For the steam wand too, there's a purge button. So I know I showed purging on our last video, but that's something that Gaggia included because the wand is such a cool feature. So much more we could talk about, but we got to get on to that Jura Z10.
Like I say, go check out the machine at the website. You get a full review of video down there, and you can see what other people said about it too and their reviews because people just love this machine. Oh, what happened to all the coffee?
Diane, welcome. Glad to have you.
Where do you toss it?
We sip some of it.
We got to be careful. We're going 8 hours.
You know, we might float away with all that coffee at that point. But we do drink some of it, and some of it gets shared with the staff, and then some of it,
In fact, I want to have a drink of this one right now.
Have a sip of your cappuccino. I mean, I've been sipping on this over ice throughout the segment. It's been good, but like you said, Mark, it gets a little dangerous once you drink a little too much coffee.
And I just want to deal with one of those misconceptions, because people oftentimes will hear about an espresso machine and be like, oh my gosh, am I going to get super caffeinated? But the truth of the matter is, a single shot of espresso usually has less caffeine than a standard cup of American-style drip coffee.
Exactly.
So if you're worried about that, don't worry too much. Or you can do the half calves over here, right?
Oh, of course, right. Or even a full
hoppers.
decaf if you're later in the day on that, J8 Twin. So let's move on to the Z10.
Running out of time here.
And so the Z10 is a premium espresso machine from Jura. We have next to it here, this is the Cool Control, which is a countertop refrigerated. Diane, you're very welcome, like I said. Thank you for joining us. A countertop refrigerated milk unit that's just going to keep things cold for you. So
you're good to go all day long. You can put milk in here. You don't have to worry about putting it away.
You don't have to worry about putting it away, exactly. Now, this is a...
And we cold started this machine, right?
We
just turned it on?
We did cold start it, so it's heating up the thermal block. Z10, though, really flexible menu of drinks, a really flexible machine in general. So here we are now. You can see full touch screen with a suite of different menus here. And then additional drink access. You use this rotary switch, and it will bring you through just the default versions of drinks. So this machine can make so many different configurations of products that really, and see, I'm having a tough time just because I'm pressing it at an angle here. Yeah. Not even quite as responsive, I would say, as that Gaggia Accademia screen. Just gotta, say. By pressing and holding on a drink, just like on that J8 Twin, that's how you access its settings. And let's say you didn't like what the drink was, you can go in and just hit replace. And then it lets you choose between one of the default configurations of a drink. And I say that because the Z10 just has so many customizations. So if we want to go right back in there, Brian, Jura uses, like I said, what they call pre-selections. And so you can do something called, I'll get my bald head out of the way there, permanent pre-selection. And that lets you pre-configure a drink to always be made in a certain way. So on the Z...
What's with the snowflake?
The snowflake, Mark, well... That's CEP. Can you tell me what that stands for?
Cold extraction process.
Can you tell me what IPBAS stands for?
No.
Intelligent Pre-Brew Aroma System. So, by pressing that snowflake, that tells the machine that we want to make this espresso using the cold extraction process every time.
And this is a little different than the over ice that we saw, right?
That's right. So Jura uses something that they call cold extraction process. This machine was designed to use the cold extraction. So it has two fluid systems. So what that means, thanks for joining us. You have a great day as well.
Bye.
For cold extraction on this machine, it uses two fluid systems. So what that means essentially is that there's one system that has hot water that's pumped through the coffee, and then there's a second system that's going to run water not through the boiler, but just from the reservoir to the coffee as well. So that way, I find it seems that there's an initial infusion that starts with some heated water that loosens everything up, and then water is actually pumped from the reservoir directly to the group, and then that's how it makes a cold extraction.
And it's different. The flavor, cold brew is different than the coffee
we do have more ice, so we'll demo this, but basically you can see it, you can hear it. The water is pulsed much more slowly. It looks essentially like it's dripping, so...
But if you've had a true cold brew, usually it's made by steeping grounds in cool water for 12 to 24 hours sometimes to make that. But it gives you a totally different flavor characteristic than a brewed coffee. So if you're just taking, hot brewed coffee and pouring over ice, that's not a flavor that I like. No. I do love the cold brew flavor though.
So we do have an iced coffee that we already programmed. We have one called cold brew as well. We're just going to press that. And so I love this little touch here, but we have the thermometer on the screen is blue rather than the usual red, right? And so one of the things that the Z10 has is it has PRG. Product
recognizing grinder.
That's right, product recognizing grinder.
All I needed was a little hint.
And so what that means though is that on this machine in particular, there's no external interface for grind adjustment. It's all done by the machine on a per drink basis.
drink.
So one of the things you can program on the Z10 is you can actually tell it what grind setting do I want to use for any particular drink, and then the grinder adjusts itself before it starts brewing.
Like we were talking about earlier, you're going to want a finer grind probably if you're doing
And Brian,
espresso.
let's get right back up there.
So you see, this is slow.
Really, it's just a little drip, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm
you
just
can
gonna raise
hear
this up just
that
so-
pulse just a little bit. I
Yeah.
may increase the volume just slightly on there. You can make those on-demand changes, but that's cold extraction process. So this is not, hey, my machine is blocked. This is That's what it looks like. So those drinks are going to take a little bit longer to make, but it's a different brew cycle altogether.
They're worth the wait.
They are worth it. Yes, they
really
are
are.
worth the wait.
And a lot faster than you could do it in your fridge if you're, steeping grounds in water for 12 to 24 hours.
That's right. And so if you have someone in your household who's a fan of, over ice drinks or cold extraction, this is something that you can make on demand.
So just while this is going, just a real quick recap, because
Sure.
we're going to have to wrap it up, because we're going to start at the top of the hour with another topic
we
here.
have another stream coming right up here.
So the Cadorna, the Gaggia Cadorna over here,
Yes.
does the over ice extraction for user profiles.
Auto frothing carafe
Auto
for
frothing
on-demand
carafe.
milk, made in Italy. Yeah.
And then we go over to the J8 Twin,
You've
two
got
grinders.
Two grinders, the ability to change the grind on a per drink basis, that sweet foam system, robust customization. Gaggia Accademia,
My favorite machine.
best value
I
for an
mean,
Italian super automatic, any super automatic, I'd really say. The most premium build quality I've ever experienced on one of these kinds of machines as well.
I love the touchscreen. I love seeing every drink parameter presented to me before I make it, the ability to change others. And then
Z10, made in Switzerland. The cold extraction process is going to be a little different, obviously, from the over ice that I had here. My ice cubes are almost gone.
And when you go out and get a cold brew, that's
There.
the taste you get.
That
I mean,
malt
it's
here,
very-
just very smooth.